They're facing a September 30th deadline. It's a race against the clock. They've got 10 days to overhaul the healthcare system where everybody lives.
But it isn't just the fact that Trump doesn't know anything that has made this bill so unpopular. There's also the fact that it betrays virtually everything he campaigned on. It is quite literally a massive tax cut for the wealthy paid for by taking health care away from millions of people.
If your baby is going to die, and it doesn't have to, it shouldn't matter how much money you make. I think that's something that, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or something else, we all agree on that, right? I mean, we do.
Oh, shut up. Can't you just be funny? What about the comedy? Does politicizing your baby with a pre-existing health condition pass the Jimmy Kimmel a humor test? These are things people say when they A, don't bother to read things and just trust someone's doing the right thing for them, and spoiler alert, they aren't, and B, are turning into sociopaths thanks to blind ideology. Seriously, do I have to make a video explaining why we should give a shit about each other? That human suffering is bad? That children shouldn't die because their parents aren't very wealthy? That even that tool Jimmy Fallon is starting to understand the weight of what's going on?
Even though The Tonight Show isn't a political show, it's my responsibility to stand up against intolerance and extremism as a human being.
You may have been following the story of a better late-night talk show host also named Jimmy Kimmel, and his 5-month-old son, Billy. Billy was born with a rare heart defect, a pre-existing condition that could turn deadly if his parents couldn't afford to pay to treat him. Luckily for Billy, his dad is very wealthy. But what about kids of middle-class parents? What about low-income families? Do their lives mean less? Kimmel, being decent, decided that no one deserves the misery of watching their kid die because they can't afford to save them. No one should have to bury their children because of shitty health care. So Kimmel started speaking out about it. Even though Republican health care bills wouldn't affect him personally, he spoke out about it. And because he is famous, people actually listen to a real flesh and blood problem instead of mentally distancing themselves or deciding it could never ever happen to them. And when Republican Senator Bill Cassidy lied to Kimmel's face, saying his bills would cover kids who need care no matter how much money their parents had, Kimmel called him out too.
We want quality, affordable health care. Dozens of other countries figured it out. Instead of jamming this horrible bill down our throats, go pitch in and be a part of that. I'm sure they could use a guy with your medical background. And if not, stop using my name, okay? Because I don't want my name on it. There's a new Jimmy Kimmel test for you. It's called the lie detector test. You're welcome to stop by the studio and take it anytime.
And it was absolutely the right thing to do. Yes, even though he's an entertainer. Yes, even though entertainers typically don't talk about politics and support the status quo. I want to be clear, this is not a left and right issue, and if you're picking a side based on that, you're an asshole. This is a profound moral issue. This is an issue where politicians abandon their constituents in favor of that sweet, sweet campaign donation money from health insurance companies, which, by the way, make money by booting sick people off their rolls and to their deaths, and have spent billions fighting universal health care instead of, you know, treating patients. This is an issue of Obamacare being fine, not perfect, but a major step up, but Republicans fighting tooth and nail to kill it because it has the word Obama in it. The GOP had years to come up with a functional, comprehensive healthcare alternative and instead are trying to force yet another rushed, awful plan that will irreparably harm us. Did you know the Graham-Cassidy-Heller plan will terminate coverage for an estimated 32 million Americans? It will also cut coverage for seniors, children, and people with disabilities, bring back lifetime limits, and discriminates against people with pre-existing conditions. And yes, that represents 52% of Americans under 65 and will result in many unnecessary deaths. It'll also send premiums into an estimated 20% spike this year alone, cut Medicaid, cut state medical funding, in particular blue state medical funding, severely impact rural hospitals, and eliminate essential services, which includes emergency care, mental health care, and hospitalization. And let's say you've committed the sin of being a woman. Birth control isn't covered, pregnancy, maternity, and newborn care aren't included, and if you've ever been pregnant, your annual premium could shoot up to $17K. Have metastatic cancer? Make it $172K. Do you have that extra money lying around? Do you want to bet that much you won't get cancer? With this horror show of a plan, if you don't die, you're probably bankrupt. Are Republicans trying to force a bunch of people into real-life Breaking Bad? This is literally the premise from the pilot. So yeah, Comedians, celebrities, and other notables are politicizing like never before because they have to, because fancy them as humans, and if they bring this distinctly human problem to light, people will realize this healthcare plan is bad for humans, and to treat it agnostically with the same or less significance than childish partisan line drawing is distinctly inhumane and immoral. Trump created an environment so terrible and clearly for profit over people that comics have had to ditch their dick jokes and silly dancing and instead present viewers with extremely important topics that are literally life and death. So when you complain that people politicize too much, maybe also consider why they have to. And for the love of breathing, call your senator now! I'm Kim Horcher. I wrote this. You can follow me on Twitter at KimScorcher, on Facebook at Kim Horcher Official, and on Instagram at Kim Horcher.